Hello, and welcome to How to Take a Break with PM Kester. I am so happy to have you back on board for episode 3, How to Take a Break During the Holidays. If I'm being totally transparent, this is possibly a topic that could lead to a part 1, part 2, even probably a part 10, because the holidays is a special time of year that yields to a lot of stress, a lot of high emotions, unresolved feelings, and really yields itself to a time where it is very cognizant to figure out how, when, and if to take a break. So, this episode will not be a deep dive, but will offer 3 breakaways, of course, and a little information. And my hope is that we can bring someone in to do a deeper dive and go from there. But first, I want to start off with a little housekeeping. And thank you so much for joining us and listening. We have definitely seen a growth in the past couple of episodes with our listenership upon all platforms. And I just want to encourage you to call your friends, call your moms, call your aunts, your cousins, your neighbors, your coworkers, and tell them to go to Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, all of the platforms where podcasts are available. If you type it in, we are more than likely there. And we are so happy to have a seat at the table and be in the room. But definitely, thank you for listening. Now, I want you to subscribe, rate, and review. These things are so important as we further our numbers and check out our reach for the podcast. So, diving head first into the topic of how to take a break during the holidays, I have yet another Forbes article, this time by Margaret Worrell. And just like last time, I will have the link to the article in the show notes as well as the 3 breakaways. But the article is called Why Women Suffer More Holiday Stress. Why Women Suffer More Holiday Stress. And when I refer to holidays, I start at the time before Thanksgiving, because to me, that is the time when we are officially in that holiday season. You know, you have Thanksgiving and then bam, a month later, you're into Christmas. And then a couple of days after that, it seems it's like, woo, New Year. So this is just like 1, 2, 3 punch of all these holidays and spending time with family and friends and hosting and entertaining and crowds and people everywhere and all that kind of coming together. And I view that as the time starting before Thanksgiving. But this article is Why Women Suffer More Holiday Stress. Is by Margie Worrell, and it's Forbes magazine article. One of the statistics it says, and keep in mind this is from 2014, and it says that in a recent study of over 2,000 men and women by Lantern, it found that women will be 11% more stressed than men this holiday season. That's 2014, and that's 11%. I cannot imagine how far greater that number is in 2019, because we have just progressed so far with the things that women are tasked with doing. And I would say people in general, but women, I feel, have this heavy load that we lift in general with parenting and mothering, and trying to fit our way into the workplace. And now you're going to add holiday stressors onto that. It can be a bit overwhelming. I'm going to read a section of the article. The author states, "It doesn't take much imagination to understand why women suffer more from holiday stress. Despite the progress women have made in the paid workforce, they still carry the bulk of domestic duties, including the task of merrymaking. From buying thoughtful presents and entertaining holiday guests, to arranging memorable family outings and organizing the annual holiday cards, women tend to have much longer holiday-related to-do lists than the men they spend their lives with, regardless of whether they work similar hours." So that is, again, like I said, one of the reasons I believe women have so much more holiday stress. So I'm just going to go right away into the breakaways. Now, the breakaways this week are basically, I've taken them myself into account and some of my conversations with my friends and family, and even just reading some of these many articles on women and breaks and holiday stress. And so these are my 3 breakaways of what I believe we should keep in mind when trying to take a break during the holidays. Number 1, and this is the most important one: be okay with not being okay. So many times we fall into this cycle of having to put on this front, like, it's okay. I can go to my 9 to 5. I can come here and help little Johnny. I can plan this perfect holiday party and wear the perfect dress and have the perfect hair and do the perfect things. But deep inside, I'm screaming, I'm not okay. And we have to be okay with saying, I'm not okay. That's the first part of taking a break. Taking a break just to put the stuff down, to put off the false acts and be like, you know what? I'm not feeling this. If I'm really honest about it, the holidays are not my thing. For me, especially this year, if I'm being really vulnerable and transparent, I'm not feeling this holiday season. This is my first year as a divorced woman. My kids are with their dad this Thanksgiving. So if I'm being really transparent, I was feeling a little kind of sad about this Thanksgiving this year. And I had to let some people know that, like, I'm really not okay about this year. And when I opened my mouth to say that, to admit that to people, it was like a giant weight was lifted off of me just by being honest enough to be like, I'm not okay. This is not cool. A lot of times we run around and we try to play the perfect host. That's something that I've dealt with in my past. You know what's really helped me with being able to sit down? Was telling people, like, this is stressful. I don't like being the host for Christmas or the host for this Christmas party. This brings me a certain type of anxiety. And once you let that off and somebody else says, well, I love to throw parties. Why don't you just let me do it? And you recognize I don't have to take on this huge burden. I can be okay with not being okay about myself or about certain things. And I think that's the first breakaway of recognizing how you can take a break during the holidays. Let's go to breakaway number 2. Know your triggers. Ooh, the holidays is when you are thrown in a room with a bunch of people that you may not have seen in years. You may not have liked in decades. People who could have done something horrible to you in your life, and now you are thrust into the situation with them. And we can even backtrack it. It doesn't even have to be a person who is the trigger. It can be a thing that's a trigger. Maybe you don't like these crowds. These holiday crowds are crazy. Black Friday is going to be off the chain. People, you already have 5 TVs. Why do you need a TV every Black Friday? Okay. But you have to recognize that also in saying, I'm being okay with not being okay. Another step in that is knowing your triggers. Knowing that hosting holiday parties gives me anxiety. Going grocery shopping during this time of year with all these crowds, I don't like being pushed and shoved. This gives me anxiety. Being around cousin Junebug because he did X, Y, to Z and Z to me when I was young, or aunts that always want to talk about how I don't have a child or bring up, oh, so I guess you not married, couldn't keep a man. Things like that. That's a trigger for me. Recognize those triggers, know those triggers, be okay with not being okay around those triggers, and make a plan for how to deal with those triggers, because you don't have to subject yourself to that type of negative energy this holiday season. It's okay to be like, nah, I'm not okay with you this year. This will not be the Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's cycle where you keep tormenting me. If you are not okay with crowds, honey, it was during the holiday season that I discovered Kroger Click List. and I started to just call from the parking lot and pick up my groceries, and it made my life so much better. There are so many services now where you don't even have to be around these people. You can just be like, this is my 2 month break. I am breathing easier. I am sleeping easier because I have recognized that this is a trigger. I am not okay with this type of atmosphere, and now I'm going to do something about it. And finally, breakaway number 3. So you got breakaway number 1, be okay with not being okay. Breakaway number 2, know your triggers. Breakaway number 3 is set aside you time. YOU. You time. Setting aside you time might sound extravagant, but it does not have to be. This does not have to be a whole 30 minutes to an hour. Oh, I need to go get a mani pedi. I need to go to the spa and get a massage or a facial. You time could be you putting on your calendar just for the months of November, December, and January that at 8 o'clock each night, you're going to go out and walk around your neighborhood. So you're setting aside like 10 to 15 minutes to take a walk, to get fresh air, to take a break from all of the craziness and the chaos that's going around this holiday season and concentrate on you. It could be that every Sunday at 2 o'clock, you set some type of timer for 20 minutes just to put one of those face masks on that you buy from whatever retailer you want to insert right here. You time could be setting aside 5 minutes at the end of each day or the beginning of each morning to talk to somebody that you love via FaceTime or via a phone call. But it's setting aside a time to concentrate on you time. You dealing with calming down from triggers that you're going to face for the day or that you've already faced. You recognizing that you're not okay, but you're doing something about it. Setting aside time for you. So I'm going to recap those 3 breakaways on how to take a break during the holidays. Number 1, be okay with not being okay. Number 2, know your triggers. Number 3, set aside you time. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great holiday season. I'll see you next time. Email me at thekestergroup@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.